When the fabled hero enters the demon's domain, everyone would expect a battle to be heard of in legends. But that's not the case here. This is the story of the hero refusing to fight and wanting death, so the chief of the demon army ends up adopting her. Now the demon lord has to find a way to help the negative hero fit into her new life, of being taken care of by the demon army, and living in the castle. Think the story is adorable? Well, stay here for more. The demon king, Gumahidoru, from the immortal dragon tribe greets the hero that has shown up in his domain. For this he will kill her, and then all her family and friends. The girl tells him that she has no friends, and her family was killed by angry villagers, accusing them of demon attacks on the village. She drops her sword and starts crying, declaring that she never wanted to be a hero, and asks Guma to finish her off, so she can go see her parents. The demon king is shocked. He treats the girl to various drinks, and asks her not to give up her life so easily. In a bedroom, the negative hero is sleeping while the demon king sits on a chair with a book in hand, thinking of what's going on. He spontaneously decided to look after the girl, but is worried whether he made the right decision. While he ponders this, the girl awakens, thinking she's woken up in heaven. Those dreams are dashed when Guma greets her. He asks if she had a good night's sleep. The hero is acceptably shocked seeing the demon lord is here. She comes to the conclusion that he may also be dead. Guma explains that he carried her to a room in the castle, after she fell asleep bawling her eyes out. Unfortunately for Guma, the negative hero is still in a daze, and chooses to cuddle her pillow, talking about how wonderful heaven is. The hero's name is Renee. Upon hearing her name from Guma's mouth, Renee blushes and remarks that the last people to call her by her name were her mother and father. Absorbing all of this, Guma tells Renee that she'll be staying with him in the castle from now on. Guma shows Renee to an exceptionally luxurious room. He tells her that this is her room from now on. She's allowed to decorate it however she wants. Renee is understandably surprised at this, so Guma explains what he intends to do. He likes magic a bit, and studies it each day in the castle, but he'd thought of finding an assistant to help him, since he found it inconvenient to study alone. He tells her that he wants her to be his assistant, and help him carry out his research. Renee doesn't respond, so Guma tries waving his hand in front of her face and shaking her to get her to respond. Turns out, she fainted. Guma lifts her up and takes her to her new bed. He realizes that the girl has had a difficult childhood, and still has a long road to recovery. The next day, Guma shows Renee around the castle. He takes her to visit the inner parts. During the tour, he wonders how he's going to announce to the other demons that he's asked Renee to be his assistant. He believes it would be hard to convince the others that the original hero is going to be living in the demon castle. Right then, Captain Bonds and the Devil Steward, Krukle, show up in Guma's line of sight. Bonds and Krukle greet their demon lord before noticing Renee beside him. She gets startled when Bonds acknowledges her. Guma places his arm in front of her, seemingly worried about the captain's possible reaction. Much to his surprise, Bonds and Krukle are super excited when they realize she's the rumored hero. The captain introduces himself to her as Harnell Bonds, the captain of the attack regiment. Krukle introduces himself as the army steward. Guma asks the two whether they already knew about her. Bonds explains that the day before, the barman had talked about the development, and the news had already spread all over the castle. The two start sobbing over how difficult Renee's life must have been, and at such a young age too. Then, Bonds asks whether Renee is living in the castle. Once he learns that she is, he's totally up for the idea and even tells Renee to rely on him, if she has any trouble. While Renee thanks them, Guma feels relieved, believing that this turn of events should be okay. He instantly takes it back, when he sees Krukle fawning over Renee, and calling her cute. After smacking Krukle, he asks him and Bonds whether this is the first time they've met Renee. He's of the opinion that when Renee came to attack the castle, they would have intercepted and faced her. Bonds then explains that back then, when the alarm for enemies was set off, he discussed with his soldiers how many enemies were attacking. The soldier had told him, the recon squad's magician had determined that there was only one attacker, who was surrounded by a holy aura. Upon determining that the divine protection meant that this was the hero, Bonds had ordered the soldier to inform the commanding officer. Before the soldier could leave, Bonds sensed Renee's aura as she appeared in front of the gate. Renee stated in a dark demeanor that she doesn't want to fight, but has to meet everyone's expectations. The determination scared the souls out of the skeleton's body and the two retreated to inform Guma. This was why Bonds never intercepted the hero, much to Guma's disappointment. Later at night, Guma guides the girl back to her room after the tour of the castle grounds is done. He asks her if there's anything else she needs or wants to talk about. Renee is a bit reluctant, so Guma tells her that there's no need to be reserved. She'll be his assistant starting tomorrow. She finally asks him where she can find a clock. Guma asks if she needs it for her daily routine, while thinking that perhaps it would be better to bring the clock to her room if she needs it every day. Renee explains that by state orders, she has to practice at least 10 hours each day. Later on, Bonds asks Krokul where the clock disappeared. Krokul tells him that Guma went all over the castle yesterday, and destroyed all the clocks. But without telling her why. While telling Renee that she'll be helping with research starting tomorrow, Guma remarks that it may be difficult to help while wearing armor. He calls Liesel, who appears instantly. Guma introduces her as Liesel Vond, the head maid in charge of managing the entire castle. He tells Renee that in case Renee needs anything, she can speak to Liesel. Guma introduces Renee to Liesel as well, and Renee greets her a bit sheepishly. Liesel has already heard about Renee from others, and pats Renee's head, remarking how she's been through a lot of pain. Guma tells Liesel to prepare a change of clothes for Renee, stating that it would be fine even if it's just a spare uniform from the maids. Liesel apologizes to Guma, saying that it may be unlikely they would have clothes that fit Renee. Guma states that if that's the case, then he'll make Renee's clothes himself. Guma takes a sheet of cloth and begins sewing it before preparing Renee's shoes. He ends up making an adorable dress for the hero, who turned assistant. Liesel remarks that the suit looks amazing, embarrassing Renee, who believes that this amazing dress can't possibly suit her. Liesel then proposes that Renee join her maid corps, but Guma instantly rejects the idea. Renee follows Guma across the halls before telling him that she believes someone like her shouldn't be allowed to wear such an amazing dress. Guma states that doing magic research while wearing her armor would be very difficult, and that she should have clothes that are fit for the work she's doing. Renee says she might get the clothes dirty during work. Guma replies that he doesn't mind, considering that they are work clothes after all. Seeing how Renee is in a dilemma, Guma tells her that if that's how she feels. He also made a uniform using the leftover cloth, when he made the dress for her. He tells her she can use that for her work clothes. Guma brings the exceptionally elegant dress. Seeing how amazing it is, Renee is flustered. She tells him that the current dress she's wearing should be fine after all. Guma takes Renee to the castle's archive, the great underground library. The entire place is huge, stacked to the roof with books. He tells Renee that all the necessary materials and magic tomes he needs for research can be found here. He'll prepare what they need and have the requirements brought to the research room. Then, he asks Renee if she can read. Upon learning that she can, he tells her to read the books while he gathers the necessary materials. Renee begins saying that she couldn't possibly read these amazing books, but Guma cuts her off. He says that sorcery is a miracle born from the fusion of science and magical powers. For research purposes, it is essential that she possess knowledge from numerous domains, such as magical science and spiritual science. Being Guma's assistant, Renee needs to engage herself in sorcery, and hence must begin her education. Guma provides her with multiple picture books to read, before leaving to gather the materials. Guma returns late to check up on Renee. He finds her diligently reading the books he gave her. Seeing this, he brings a cup of tea for her and himself, before sitting down near her. The two spend time reading together, until it's time for supper. Next morning, Guma thinks of how it's been a week since Renee arrived at the castle. She is slowly getting used to life here, but he finds that she's still reserved. He believes that she probably feels conflicted because she's a hero living in the castle of a demon lord. Considering that, Renee's role has changed from that of a hero to an assistant, Guma wonders what he should do to understand her better. While he's pondering all of this, he finds Renee in the halls. After their greeting, Guma asks if she went outside, considering she's up so early in the morning. Renee replies that she went to the nearby river to take a bath, which shocks Guma. He suddenly realizes that he didn't tell her the location of the bath. Thinking a bit more, he remembers that he did in fact tell her where the bath was, when he showed her around the castle. He realizes that she may not have understood that the bath was prepared specifically for her. He asks Renee if she'd always been going to the river to take a bath, since she had arrived. She answers that she goes there every day, metaphorically stabbing Guma in the chest. She begins saying that she makes sure to clean up properly, even though the water is really cold. She wants to talk about her clothes, but Guma stops her. He says that she doesn't need to worry about these things. He then reaches out and caresses her cheek, realizing how cold her skin feels. Guma wraps a scarf around Renee, and then lifting her up. He calls forth all his troops to attention before telling them to prepare the hot water. 10 minutes after the order, the subordinates prepared the bath at lightning speed. The next dilemma for Guma was how to get Renee to take the bath. He knows that if she enters alone, she'll simply come back out without doing anything. The maids were available to escort her, since they're busy doing morning chores. Seeing Guma's troubled expression, Krokle appears. Krokle starts begging Guma to entrust the duty of accompanying Renee to the baths to her. Guma ponders, stating that since Renee is a girl at a delicate age, he wouldn't dare go himself. Krokle is excited to go to the bath with her, but before that, Guma orders her to return to her original form. Krokle does as commanded, and turns back into her female form. Renee is exceptionally surprised to see that Krokle is a woman. Krokle states that she prefers spending time in the other form. Before going to the bath, Krokle teases Guma, asking if this is alright since she'll get to enjoy time with Renee, in the bath all alone. Guma asks for Krokle's hand, and places a sigil on it. He explains that the spell he cast will ensure that Krokle feels intense pain if she touches Renee with evil thoughts. Krokle accompanies Renee to the castle's lavish bath house, but Renee is a bit flustered over all of this. Krokle asks her what's wrong. Renee nervously responds, there's no need for her to enter such a splendid bath, and she'd rather just get a bucket of warm water. Krokle steps to the bath to check the water before telling herself that it should be fine, if it's over the towel. She wraps her tail around Renee in the towel, and jumps into the bath with her. Krokle forces Renee to enjoy the bath, saying that if she doesn't warm up properly, Krokle would be scolded by Guma. She even emotionally blackmails Renee a bit, saying that Bonds and the others would be really sad if they found out that Renee just used a bucket of water, when they all worked so hard to prepare the bath for her. After getting Renee to relax a bit, Krokle asks her how it's been like for the week, and whether she's gotten used to life at the castle. She offers to teach her anything if she doesn't understand. Renee quietly asks her whether it's okay for her to be in the castle, considering that she's a hero. Krokle had expected that question. It's obvious that Renee wouldn't understand why the Demon Lord's army would both protect her, and give her accommodation considering her title. She tries to explain to Renee that Guma needs assistants like her. The girl answers that she hasn't been able to help Guma as assistant yet. Renee feels guilty that everyone in the castle is so nice to her, but she can't give them anything in return. Krokle asks Renee if she wants to keep staying at the castle in response. Renee gets confused, because she seems to be avoiding asking herself that question. Krokle then rephrases her question. She asks what Renee thinks of the castle, Guma, and everyone else. Renee thinks for a moment and replies that Guma is very warm and kind-hearted, along with everyone else. She feels warm and fuzzy inside here. Krokle, observing that Renee has finally opened up, says that she's glad that she doesn't hate everyone. She patting the girl on the head, and saying that it's okay for her to be in the castle. She says that Guma thinks she's needed here, and everyone else accepts her, so she doesn't need to worry. If anything happens, she knows that Guma would do something about it. She also tells Renee that she herself would be lonely too. After comforting Renee, Krokle gets up to grab some shampoo. The girl tries to tell her that she can do it herself, but Krokle lifts her up by the hand, causing her towel to fall off. No sooner does Krokle get bad thoughts, than she is faced with intense pain caused by Guma's spell. Outside the bath, Guma tells the injured, but ecstatic Krokul, that he'd blind her if she really laid a hand on Renee. In the library, Guma and Renee sit while he reads a book. Suddenly, Renee begs him to give her more work. Guma asks if she doesn't find acquiring knowledge an actual job. Renee argues that spending all day reading doesn't feel right. She wants to take care of her own things like cleaning the room and her clothes. Guma realizes that he may be too overprotective, which is causing the feelings of guilt in Renee. He assures her that he'll think of something, and calling over Liesel. Liesel appears from the ceiling in a flash, ready to serve her master. Guma requests her to have Renee help the maids with their work for the day. Renee greets Liesel. Guma goes on saying that he'll leave the work to Liesel, but tells her to avoid work for Renee, that involves fire or sharp objects. Liesel plops a candy in Renee's mouth. Guma keeps going on about how folding laundry should be appropriate for work. Then he asks Liesel if she's listening, to which she simply responds that the maids will take care of Renee. Guma chooses to go with them, he's a little worried. The three head out. Liesel intends to begin with helping the laundry department. Renee and Guma are guided to the large courtyard where they look for another maid. A maid then shows up and greets Guma and Liesel. Guma apologizes for disrupting her work before he tries to ask a question, but the maid named Eru gets distracted by Renee. She recognizes Renee as the hero and Renee greets her in response. Eru introduces herself as the head maid of the laundry department. Renee realizes that she's the one who takes care of her clothes every day. She thanks her profusely before apologizing for making her wash her clothes. This awakens Eru's desire to protect this girl. She hugs Renee tight before asking Guma if Renee can join her department. Guma refuses, but Liesel steps in, arguing with Eru that Renee will be coming with her. The four suddenly hear someone yelling that they've found it. Another maid named Mary shows up, exclaiming that she's found someone. The person in question is Renee. Mary fawns over Renee, while the other two maids judge her for acting this way in front of their lord. Guma asks the others why they're here. Mary states that everyone came to invite Eru to lunch, since they were all finished with their work for the morning. She begins scolding Guma for not introducing Renee to them yet. Guma is a bit at a loss of words, but then he tells Liesel to introduce everyone to Renee. Mary is the head maid of the cooking department, Mina is the head maid of the security department, and Tika is the head maid of the cleaning department. Mary continues fawning over Renee, and the other maids join in the patting and hugging as well. Smothered in the adoring girls, Renee reaches out to Guma for help. He goes into shock and tears well up, because Renee is finally asking for his help. Tika tells him to get out of his head for a bit, and go help her. Eru then asks Guma what he was trying to ask her earlier. Guma says that he wants Renee to help the maids for the day. He specifically wants her to help with the laundry. Upon hearing this, Mary gets excited thinking that Renee is going to be joining the maid unit. But Guma says that it's only going to be for a day. The girls choose to ignore him. They want to take advantage of it right now. When Guma asked what it is, Mary states that they prepared something, if Renee joined the maid unit. They prepared a maid outfit. The girls make her wear the outfit in a hurry, and begin fawning over the adorable Renee. Guma notices that Renee is a bit embarrassed over the length of the skirt. So he brings out his tools and quickly alters the length, makes it longer. The maids remark, he behaves like her father. With Renee ready for work, Eru brings her over and shows her the ropes. She asks Renee if she wanted to help out with tasks around the castle. Renee affirms this. Says that she asked Guma to give her a job. Mary wasn't happy with the fact that Renee was only given to them for just a day. But Guma made it clear, he just wants everyone to demonstrate the role of each maid corps division to Renee, like a tour of the workplace. Eru recalls that Guma didn't seem overprotective when he said this, but Renee snaps her back to reality from her thoughts. Renee asks her what she should do next. Eru is in shock because of how quickly she folded the laundry. She then asks Renee to bring the sheets, so Renee rushes over there. Eru tells her to take things slowly, but Renee wants to give it her all. The girl says that she feels like she's of no use in this castle, as everything from food, to chores to clothes was given to her by everyone else. She doesn't want things to stay like this. She also doesn't believe that she has any redeeming features, thinking that she'll probably just get in everyone's way. She's still determined to return the favor to everyone in any way she can. Eru finally realized why Guma is so protective of Renee. This girl is so kind and gentle. Once laundry work is done, Renee is handed over to Mina to work with the security team. Mina explains that the security team's job is to protect the castle, so they'll be patrolling to make sure that everything is alright. She states that the rest of the job is for if they find an intruder. If they spot an intruder, they have to fight them off. She say that since Guma owns the castle, they don't usually get intruders anyway. Renee gets worried, thinking she'll be attacked since she was technically an intruder. Right after, Mina gets a call from Krokel who tells her, the barrier reacted and something was coming from above. Mina grabs a hammer and tells Renee to follow her. The two find a wyvern has intruded the castle's airspace. Mina explains that wyverns sometimes wander over here, since young dragons don't know, this is the boss's castle. Mina tells Renee to stand back. She excited that the security team finally gets some action. Mina tells Renee to get down as the wyvern has noticed them. The wyvern lunges towards her. She heads in to attack it as well. Suddenly, the sky to darken. An ominous air fills the castle, even Renee in shock. The girls see a huge dragon, dwarfing even the castle itself. The wyvern shrieks and runs off at the sight. Sky suddenly goes back to normal. Mina looks around before she spots Guma and gets super angry. She begins yelling at him for scaring the wyvern away, saying that this is the security team's job, not his. Guma scurries off midway, leaving the girls. Mina apologizes to Renee, saying that it was a shameful display, even though she's part of the security team. Renee tells her that it's not shameful at all, because Mina kept her safe. She also tells her that she looked really beautiful, making Mina blush. After the security team, Renee is taken in by the kitchen. Mary comments on Renee's ruffled hair before telling her that the cooking unit's job is to prepare meals for the whole castle. They also manage food resources as well. Unfortunately though, Guma has forbidden the use of fire and knives, so Mary thinks it would be difficult for Renee to help out. Mary thinks that the two should just have a nice chat and enjoy themselves. But she's seeing how eager Renee is to work, she decides against the relaxing idea. Mary gets the idea. Renee will be testing the food she has prepared. Mary tells Renee that although she's in charge of the cooking unit, she doesn't have much confidence in her cooking skills. She wants Renee's honest thoughts and Renee agrees to the task. Then, Mary presents a super amazing looking strawberry tart, and asks Renee to check. She feeds Renee a spoonful and Renee absolutely loves it. The original honest thoughts idea is out of the window. Mary proceeds to feed Renee plenty of sweets. The last stop for Renee's working session is the cleaning team led by Tika. Tika explains that their duty is to thoroughly clean every inch of the castle, keeping it sanitary and hence everyone healthy. Tika is the serious sort and says that she doesn't tolerate cutting corners, emphasizing the fact that she won't be as lenient as Liesel. Renee is just as eager to work. Tika explains that to clean, they should work from the top to the bottom. So the first spot to clean are the windows and candle holders. Tika notices how small Renee, so she tells her to wipe as much of the windows as she can with her height. As Renee is about to climb the ladder, Tika notices how young she looks and asks Renee her age. She learns that Renee is only 12 years old. Tika then scolds Renee over how she addresses her superiors. Renee profusely apologizes for speaking to everyone so casually. Tika takes a step back but Renee proceeds to call her Tika-sama. Tika scolds her again, and tells Renee to call her big sister. Tika blushes as soon as she hears it, considering she's the youngest in the maid unit. Guma pours himself some tea. He thinking of how Renee wanted to work. He doesn't believe that such a young girl would begin to think she needed to work on her own. Guma wants Renee to be able to talk about what she really wants to do, instead of doing things from a feeling of guilt. He even wonders if Renee finds it better working alongside the maids, although he never really wanted the maids to meet her. As he's lost in his thoughts, the maids barge in with Renee in hand, each one begging Guma to put her permanently in their teams. The maids surround Guma. Liesel firmly declares that Renee has joined the maid team, much to Guma's dismay. Guma addresses the maid team and asks them what they intend to make Renee do, now that they all accept and welcome her. Eru says that she wants to take care of her, and spoil her senseless. Myra wants her to constantly check the food she makes, and spoil her with sweets. Mina doesn't have a clear idea, but vaguely wants to go around guarding the castle with Renee. Tika wants to be a big sister to her, and teach her things. Renee and Guma stand equally confused at the motives.